All right. Thank you all for attending our EVV presentation today. Hopefully you'll learn a little bit and go. Hopefully you'll go to our website after this is all said and done, and you will download the forms and the guides and follow along with those, because those will be very helpful for you down the stretch. So we're going to go ahead and get started with some introductions here. First off, my name is Cody Waits. I'm an account manager with PALCO, and I'm also the EVV program lead. Joining me on the call is Katie Perdota. She's the National Director of Program Management. And then some of you may know our other guest is Jason Smith. He is the account manager for the Colorado CDASS program with PALCO. So if you've ever been on any of these trainings before, you know that a little bit about PALCO, but if you've never attended them, just some info about us before we get started. PALCO is a national industry leader providing exceptional FMS services to 9 states. I think we have about 14 or so programs as well. Arkansas, which is PALCO's home state and company headquarters, where I'm headquartered as well, was the first state to pilot self-direction more than 20 years ago. PALCO was also the first fiscal employer agent in the nation. And we pride ourselves because we focus on focusing on industry standards and person-centered practices. So a few guidelines that I've already touched on a bit. All the lines are muted and will be muted for the duration of the training. We're going to use the chat feature for your question, and like I said, there are designated times for when these questions will be answered. If for whatever reason we don't have time for all the questions, you can include your email address and we'll follow up with you in the coming days. And also I'll be mentioning some resources, customer support, emailing us if questions come up after this presentation is over. So I do ask that you please reserve the chat for questions and refrain from sharing comments or opinions, just because we want to keep this organized. And we actually use this chat to help us develop frequently asked questions guides that are only going to be more beneficial to you. So only PALCO staff should answer any questions that are asked, and those will be designated. They'll write their names and PALCO after their answer, so you'll know that it's coming from us. So today's agenda, we're going to give a brief overview of what EVV is, why we're doing it, and who we are working with to provide these services. Then we're going to talk about the 2 different methods of EVV, the mobile application and the telephony option. And then we'll go over approving, submitting, and editing time and how we're going to go about doing that. Finally, we'll talk about other considerations, program rules, things that are specific to the Colorado CDASS program. And finally, we'll have a general question and answer period at the end. That way, if you have anything that you've heard that just soaked in by the end of it and you want to ask us a question about something from the initial slides, this will be a great opportunity to ask those questions. So we'll go ahead and talk about what EVV is. Before we discuss everything today, know that all these slides and forms and user guides, they are all located on our website. It's palcofirst.com. You'll go to the programs and select Colorado, and you scroll down to the EVV section, and you will see all of these forms there. So, what is EVV? Electronic visit verification is a technology solution which electronically verifies that home and community-based services are actually delivered to people needing those services by documenting the precise time service begins and ends. And you might be asking yourself, why is this all required? Well, implementing EVV is a federal requirement. It's actually part of the 21st Century Cures Act, and it requires all state Medicaid agencies to implement an EVV solution to manage personal care services by January 1st, 2019, and for all home health services by January 1st, 2023. An EVV captures 6 points of data, and these are the 6 points that they have to make sure that they get for each one of these clock ins and clock outs. So they're getting the type of service that's performed, the individual receiving the service, the date of the service, location of the service, the individual providing the service, and the time the service begins and ends. And we at Palco have partnered with First Data to provide you an exceptionally easy-to-use, secure EVV platform. Now, First Data has been providing software solutions for 17 years. Their solution for EVV is called Authenticare. It is compliant with the Cures Act. It's very user-friendly, and it keeps your personal information secure. We work with them on a couple other of our programs, and they have been very easy to work with. Again, we have a lot of people that say how user-friendly the application and the IVR telephony options are. And we do definitely value security, so we know that the information that is in these apps is secure. And what services require EVV? So all consumer-directed attendant support services will be captured using EVV starting August 1st, 2020. Is anyone exempt from using EVV? So Colorado has elected for attendants who live with the participant to claim an exemption from EVV. We'll actually have some slides dedicated to that a little later in the training, so if you have any questions about that, let's just hold off on those until we get to that section, and then if I don't cover it, feel free to ask me a question. But for now, are there any initial questions before we start diving into the app and the telephony option? Don't be afraid, there are no bad questions, so just make sure to utilize the chat feature. And if you can't find the chat feature, I believe it's on the top. It's like a little word bubble. Go ahead and click that, and that should open up the chat feature. Jill asks, are you going to walk us through downloading the app and going from there? Absolutely. That's just in the next section. We're going to talk about the app and how to clock in and how to download it and everything. Good question. All right, we'll go ahead and get started on that. If there are any other questions that you think of, we'll have another question and answer period later in the presentation. So, all right, the mobile application. The application that we'll be using is called Authenticare, and it is a smartphone application that uses the cellular GPS capabilities on your smartphone device to capture your location as well as the 6 points of data required to comply with EVV. So to download the application, you're going to go to your App Store on your mobile device, whether you have an Android, Google, iOS, or Apple. You're going to go to the App Store on that device, and then in your search bar, you're going to type in Authenticare. So it's just like authentic, and you're just adding the ARE at the end. But once you find that, it should be labeled as Authenticare 2.0. And the logo for the app is this medical cross with the two tones colors, like that grayish blue and the orange. So if you see that logo, that's the one you're going to download. So go ahead and complete that download, and it should give you the option to open it from there. If not, go to your home screen where the app was downloaded to and open it from there. Now, the first time you open this app, you will get a couple permission notifications. You need to hit tap. You have to hit tap allow to access this device's location and allow to make and manage phone calls. If you do not do that, you will not be able to log in. You will not be able to do anything with EVV with the application. So it's very important that you tap allow to access the device's location and allow to make and manage phone calls. Once you get past that, it will open up a screen asking you to put in a setup code. We provide this for you. It is listed here on these slides. It is also listed in our user guide, so you don't have to like screenshot this or memorize it or write it down right now. That information is included in our other forms and this presentation on our website. But for today, it is Palco, C-O-P-R-D, and it will be all one word, all caps. So when you put that in, it will bring up the login screen. But before we do any logging in or anything like that, we need to get the device ID, because the device ID is going to allow us to get the information from your phone to us and to the Authenticare system. So you'll click on Settings at the bottom right of the login screen, and that will bring up a new menu. From that menu, I believe it's the first option on there, it will say See Device Identifier. When you click on that, a pop-up screen will come up, and it will show your device ID. And this varies a little bit. I think on most Android phones, it's either a series of lowercase letters and numbers or just numbers. I know on iOS and Apple phones or iPads or whatever you've got, it will be a series of letters and numbers, and there will be dashes in there too. So a really important thing here is to copy down that device ID exactly as it is shown. That is very important. And when you submit anything for our device ID, you're going to do it on this registration form. And on this registration form, you're going to put the participant's information, the employee's information. It's very important that we get the email for the employee and for the employer. Those are the two emails that are required to make sure that we can access this EVV. And then on the bottom section, you will need to designate which method of EVV you're going to utilize. So if you're using the mobile application, this is where you're going to put that device ID that you copied down. Again, make sure that you print clearly, include all dashes, and just write it down exactly as it is shown. Or you can choose to put select the telephony option, and we'll go over that in the next part. But you're going to submit this to us through our enrollment email, so it's enrollment@palcofirst.com. And then once you have registered, you will have received a good to go notification once we process that registration form. On that notification, you'll receive, again, your worker ID, which you should already have, but it will be your Palco ID. And then we'll provide you with a password. Now, this is going to be a temporary password, and when you first log in, you're going to use your worker ID and your password, and then it will ask you to set your own password. So if you have passwords that you like to use or would like a stronger password, this will be your opportunity to do that. Now, you will not be able to log into the mobile app until the system for Colorado is live on August 1st. So you'll still be able to download the app. You'll still be able to get your device ID. You just won't be able to log in until it is live on August 1st. So clocking in, you're going to go ahead and you're going to click on New Check-In. It's the first thing that will pop up once you log in. It'll show today's date, or the date that it is, and you'll click New Check-In. Once you click that, it will ask you to choose the client from the list of clients. If the client isn't found, you can click Look Up Client and follow the steps from there. I believe if you put in the client's Palco ID or their last name, it should be able to bring them up. And then from there, it will ask you to click on the service and select the service you're providing for that shift. I know with Colorado CDASS, we don't really have those services anymore as much as we have those rates. But this is where you're going to choose that. That's CDASS 1, 2, or 3. And then once you have that all completed, go ahead and submit check-in and click OK. Now, once you get to the end of your shift, you'll have an active visit. So when you log back into the app, you'll see that active visit, and all you'll need to do is submit checkout. Once you click that button, a pop-up will appear, and it'll show checkout success. It'll show the location, and it will show you the checkout time. And then you just press OK. So a question we often get is about GPS and tracking and everything. Well, GPS coordinates are only collected during the check-in and check-out process. They are not collected at any other point of the visit. So you don't have to worry about it constantly being on your phone. It only grabs that GPS information when you're clocking in and out. And so let's say that you are located in an area of limited service or no service. So go ahead and log in and clock in because it will record your data still. But once you enter an area of internet service, all that data will then push to the Authenticare system. So it's very important that you clock in and out even if you're in a bad coverage area because it will still capture that information. Now we're going to talk about the telephony option, or it's also called IVR. So Authenticare's telephony software allows you to utilize the participant's home landline phone to clock in and out and meet the criteria of the 21st Century Cures Act. It's also sometimes referred to as interactive voice recognition, or IVR. You're going to use the same form that you did for the mobile device as you would for telephony. So to register, you're going to put all that information that we previously talked about, but instead of selecting mobile application, you're going to select the telephony IVR option, and then you are going to put the participant's landline home phone. So using telephony, these instructions are going to be very basic, but we have an IVR instruction sheet located on the website that goes step by step through this. And it will always, or it will include the toll-free number that you need to call at the beginning and the end of the visit. So at the start of your visit, you can dial that toll-free number, and then you'll enter your worker ID. And then there will be a series of prompts kind of instructing you on what to do next and how to log that visit. So at the end of the visit, you're going to dial the toll-free number and enter your worker ID. And then you'll follow those prompts again to clock out. A question that is very common is, can I use the telephony system from a cell phone? Unfortunately, you can't. Telephony should be used via the client's home landline phone. And this is the phone that should be registered with PALCO and First Data as part of your enrollment process. And we ask that you, when you register for one, that you're not flip-flopping back and forth between both of these. We ask that you please select one or the other. And then what number do I call? Again, I'm going to refer you to that telephony IVR user guide that's on our website, and it's specific for Colorado. So the toll-free number will be on there, as well as more detailed information and steps moving forward. And then another common question we get is, do I have to clock in and out at midnight to split the shift? So the answer is no. You do not need to clock out at 11:59 p.m. and back in at 12 a.m. once EVV starts. You may be, familiar with this rule when entering your time in Connect, but when EVV starts, the system automatically splits that time when it comes into the Connect system. And how do I document what services were provided during the shift? So the requirement to collect services provided during a shift, like homemaker or personal care, health maintenance, that was eliminated last fall when PALCO streamlined the pay rates. So this was done in preparation for EVV and to make the check-in and out process as simple as possible. So if the employer or employee wants to keep service notes for their case manager, just as documentation for the participant's needs and task worksheet, that is reviewed at annual CSR home visits. It's always encouraged to do that. Any questions about the information that I just went over? All right. Well, I'm doing a really good job. Oh, Jill came back with one. So for now, we just fill out the EVV registration form, putting in the device ID. Absolutely. You're actually getting a jump on the game, and the earlier you do it, the better. And then you'll send to us, yes, and we'll get back to you. Yes, we will send an email letting you know that your registration was taken in and processed, and then we will provide you with the information you need to log in on August 1st. So when we do send that email back, we ask that you save that email because it will have the important information on there to get you started when we go live on August 1st. Thanks, Jill. That was a great question. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move forward. And we're going to talk about approving time. So some of you already know this and have been using this, but we use Connect, which is our online time submission system, and that's what we're going to do moving forward to approve and deny time, or just to get everything approved between both the worker and the employer. At the end of the pay period, the worker and the employer will need to log in to Connect and review the time entries. These entries can be rejected, modified, or approved for submission. So this is the little bit of the process flow about how you'll start with EVV and get to payday. So first, the worker is going to record their time via the EVV platform that they selected, and then once they do that, that time is inserted into Connect. I believe it updates that information every night at midnight, so you should see it the next day in there, and it will be in an open status until you log in to at the end of the service period, and when the worker logs in, they will review their time, make any edits that they need to if it's necessary. If they see that everything is okay, a notification will be sent to the employer by email once they've approved their time, and then it will be the employer's opportunity to review that time and go over it. So they'll log in second and review the time, and they can choose to approve or deny that. If they see anything wrong with it, they can always deny it, and it will send a notification back to the worker. It will show the timesheet is in needs resolution status, and then the worker can then correct their timesheet and resubmit for approval. So if it gets back to the employer and everything looks good, they will approve it, and then it goes under PALCO review. And that's where we step in and we review and run our validations to make sure that everything is okay, budget-wise and everything. And then once that happens, we will send an email to the employers if time is approved or if it needs resolution. And then approved time is paid on payday. So registering in Connect. Some of you have already been registered in Connect, but if you're providing your information on the on the EVV registration form, you will be registered in Connect. We'll use the email address provided on there. That's why I was so adamant about the worker email and the employer email. So every CDASS employer and attendant must have a unique email address to utilize Connect. You will receive an email from PALCO once the form is processed, and it'll tell you how you will be able to log in. Once you've got your login and everything, you're ready to go. So you can go to our website for Connect. It's connect.palcofirst.com. And when the worker gets there, they will log in with their email and their password. And then it will bring up this screen that says PALCO Connect at the top. And you'll go to the top right corner, and you'll click on Time Entry. And then you'll select the employer, and then you'll select the current timesheet that you're in. So on this screen, you'll be able to look at all the time that has been posted, and if everything looks okay, you'll go to the bottom and hit Submit for approval. And then, once you've done that, the employer will log into their account and choose to approve or reject that time. So selecting Reject will deny the timesheet, and it sends it back to the attendant for corrections. You should only reject the timesheet if it is wrong or requires an edit, because these edits should only be made when absolutely necessary. Too many of these edits will be flagged and could cause you to be out of compliance with the 21st Century Cures Act. So if a shift requires an edit or a new shift needs to be added, the worker should do this while the timesheet is in an open status. You can do add time, you can edit or delete on the right-hand side next to any shift. In an edit mode, you can change the service type or the rate in your case, or adjust the start and end time using the drop-down boxes. Now, if you are editing, we do ask that you have to select a reason for the edit. So if you're making an edit, these list of reasons will be there, and you'll have to select one to move forward. So it's forget to check in and check out. Either you selected the wrong service, the wrong member or participant was selected, you didn't charge your cell phone, no cell coverage, even though you should still be able to clock in and out. And we ask that you do that, if you remember when I said about limited service areas. So you should still be able to capture that. The IVR is phone disconnected, or the phone was in use by someone else, other, and then manual entry. Please only use other if it is necessary, absolutely necessary. We feel like many of the other issues will be covered with any of these other reasons, so only use other when absolutely necessary. And once all those edits are complete, the attendant can submit for approval, and then that cycle starts again. And so a question we get a lot is, how many edits am I allowed to have? So your program may have specific rules and restrictions around the number of edits allowed in a pay period. Once that threshold is met, the shift may no longer be payable by PALCO. The best way to prevent this is to just ensure that everyone is using EVV 100% of the time. So we'll have more information on the number of edits that you'll be allowed to have per pay period, and I'm sure they'll be updating you as well. And this is just about the process flow again. So once the employer approves the time and submits it to PALCO, we run our own tests and validations to ensure that it can be paid. Nothing changes with the payroll schedule. It's going to stay the same. And time submitted in Connect by the employer past the noon deadline on the due date is not guaranteed for payment on time. So nothing really changes with the due dates and the pay schedule. So I've seen a couple questions come in when I've been, or as I've been talking. Let's see what we've got here. Can the employees log in once a week, or do they have to do it at the end of the pay period? So I always say you can. I always recommend that you just wait until the end of the pay period. That way you can look at it all at once, and you don't have to worry about finding multiple timesheets or mistakes or anything like that. I usually just tell people to just leave it until the end of the pay period. Now you can always go in and check and see that your time is being recorded. There's no issue with that. It's just really preference. And then we had a question, what if you have to go to the doctor with your employer? How do you log on? So just go ahead and log on wherever your shift starts, and that's where you're going to clock in, and then wherever your shift ends, that's where you're going to clock out. So we're catching that GPS information, everything. We know that these are community-based services, so you'll actually be out in the community. We know these things, so just clock in wherever you are. And if for whatever reason you do miss it, that's why we have the Connect application, so that you can submit that time after the fact. All right. We're going to move on to some other considerations. And the question, do I have to clock in and out for different services? So this doesn't affect a lot of people because we streamlined those rates back in the fall and made it extremely simple. So you'll clock in for CDASS and select the correct pay rate for that shift. So rate 1, 2, or 3. You don't need to change your clock in to indicate if you're providing homemaker or personal care during the shift. Now, this is a little bit different for the SLS waiver participants because they have two different budgets, one for CDASS and then one for health maintenance, and you'll need to select the correct service when clocking in there. So if SLS health maintenance is provided in addition to another service in a single shift, the attendant must clock out and back in accordingly, selecting the correct service. So doing this will ensure that PALCO uses the funds from the correct budget to pay for that shift. And then we're going to talk about live-in caregivers. This is a big topic. So Colorado has elected the option for attendants who live with the participant to claim an exemption from EVV. EVV live-in caregiver attestation form must be completed and submitted to PALCO with supporting documentation no later than July 15th in order to be exempt from the August 1st requirement. Anything submitted after that will be processed, but it will be effective on the following pay period. So if you miss that deadline, you will need to be in compliance with EVV on August 1st until we can verify that that exemption is effective. Some of the acceptable supporting documentation examples are, a copy of both the state IDs, address listed on tax returns, automobile registration, voter registration, utility or household bills, bank account statements, Medicaid records, and any of this documentation must be current or have a date within the last 3 months. And then attestation form must indicate what live-in definition is met. So for example, there's the IRS determination, the DOL determination, or the extenuating circumstance approved by the department. Form submission must include proof that the attendant and participant live together as indicated on the included instructions. So again, state ID, tax returns, auto registration. And false information will be subject to claim recoupment and prosecution for Medicaid fraud. So the EVV exemption is not effective until PALCO has processed and provided confirmation. That's why that due date is very important. So you must comply with EVV until you receive that confirmation. And submissions not compliant with EVV are not guaranteed for payment. The form must be resubmitted every year before July 1st, or EVV will no longer be exempt. Questions about the live-in definition or who qualifies should be directed to the department's EVV team, and that's evv@state.co.us. Again, if you don't need to copy that down right away, or screenshot it. This is all available on our website, and you can download that after we're finished. So who should I contact if I have any questions about my budget or services authorized? So questions about your budget, hours per week, available based on your current pay rates, and how to set up your schedule should be directed to your case manager and or Consumer Direct. Consumer Direct Colorado is the CDASS training vendor, and they can assist you with updating your attendant support management plan. So you have a plan for using EVV successfully and managing your attendant care. We've listed their phone number on here, 844-381-4433, and their email is info@consumerdirectcare.com. Again, you don't need to screenshot or any of this. It's all available on our website. So I think this is going to be our last question and answer period, and I've seen we've had some questions roll in. Any questions that you have about this is fine here. No wrong questions, no bad questions. Go ahead and ask. I am going to go back over one of the questions that Joe asked. Is it okay for my aide to clock in when she starts grocery shopping before arriving to my apartment? Absolutely. So if that is when her shift technically begins, she should clock in then. You can tell it's a Friday. Everybody's quiet. All right. Well, if there are no other questions, you can continue to type your questions. I'm just going to go over some next steps and some other resources. So next steps, make sure all your employees have completed the EVV registration process by submitting their form to PALCO. Again, the deadline is July 15th. You're going to go ahead and review all the EVV user guides, ensure that you have access to everything. This is a really good opportunity for you to make sure that you have everything that you need, whether you're downloading the mobile app or you need to verify your landline, get a landline, get internet access. Just figure those kinds of things out, because if this is going to be the opportunity up until that August 1st to when we need to be doing this. Again, you can find all the forms and handouts on our website. Here's the link, and I know Jason has posted the link a few times in the chat. It's PALCO first. You're going to go to Programs and then select Colorado. We are also having some more trainings on this. We have several trainings coming up, but we'll have trainings up until the go live date on August 1st. So if you might have been a little quiet or confused during this, look over those forms, look over those user guides, come back, and you can attend another training and maybe ask the questions then that you were wanting to ask or forgot to ask in this one. Also, we are recording some of these trainings, and we're going to make those available. We're going to put up a YouTube video. And so if you do need to access the training or watch the training again, you can access that video and watch it at your own convenience. And Finally, I just want to say thank you to all of you who have attended today. You asked some really great questions, and we'll be updating our frequently asked questions document with some of these questions to, just help out others that are looking for those answers as well. If you have any questions or need any support about anything, not just EVV, don't be afraid to call in to our customer support team. They're always here and willing to help, and if it is EVV, they are very well versed on EVV. I've worked with them on it. Like I said, we've been working with a couple other programs, so they know EVV inside and out. And their phone number, you just call them. It's 866-710-0456. Our fax number's on the screen. And any other general questions or anything can be directed to our email account. Just email info@palcofirst.com. And as it's Friday, I hope you all have a great weekend. And like I said, be on the lookout for more information soon. Thanks, everybody, and hope you have a great day.